Oh yes, the most notorious criminal to have ever lived in the United States, famously known as Al Capone, was born on January 17, 1899, in Brooklyn, New York, who would become one of the most notorious and influential figures in the American underworld during the Prohibition era. This biography delves into the life of Al Capone, tracing his early years, rise to power, criminal activities, and ultimate downfall. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born to Italian immigrant parents, Gabriel and Teresa Capone. He was the fourth of 9 children in a working-class family. Growing up in a tough Italian-American neighborhood, young Al Capone quickly learned to navigate the streets. Capone's formal education was limited, and he struggled with his studies. He dropped out of school in the 6th grade at the age of 14, largely due to his involvement in a fight with a teacher. In his late teens, Al Capone moved to Chicago, where he would become a key figure in the city's criminal activities. A pivotal moment in Capone's life was when he met Johnny Torrio, a prominent member of the 5 Points gang. Torrio recognized Capone's potential and became a mentor to the young and impressionable teenager. Under Torrio's guidance, Capone was introduced to the workings of organized crime, further fueling his criminal ambitions. His loyalty and ruthlessness earned him respect within the criminal community. In 1925, after Torrio was seriously wounded in an assassination attempt, Capone assumed control of the gang called Chicago Outfit. One of the most important things about Al Capone's life of crime was that he sold illegal alcohol during a time when it was against the law. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution made it illegal to sell or drink alcohol, which created a secret and profitable underground alcohol market. Capone's criminal gang controlled this market, bringing and selling alcohol all over Chicago. He was probably a second god for those who loved drinking alcohol. He and his gang ran secret bars, made beer and whiskey, and he became very rich and a symbol of rebellion against the alcohol ban. Al Capone was known for his willingness to use violence to eliminate rivals and maintain his control over the Chicago underworld. Sometimes he would use most brutal violence. Such example was the St. Valentine's Day massacre, the most infamous event in the history of organized crime in the United States. This brutal incident took place on February 14, 1929, in Chicago, Illinois. The main players in the St. Valentine's Day massacre were the South Side Italian gang led by Al Capone and the North Side Irish gang led by George "Bugs" Moran. Both gangs were deeply involved in illegal activities, particularly the illegal alcohol trade, and they engaged in a bitter and often deadly rivalry for territorial control. On that terrifying Valentine's Day, 7 members of Bugs Moran's gang were trapped to a garage at North Clark Street by men impersonating police officers. The gangsters, believing they were being arrested, lined up against a wall. Suddenly, 4 gunmen, 2 of whom were dressed as uniformed policemen, opened fire on Moran's men with Tommy guns. In a matter of seconds, they sprayed over 150 bullets into the trapped gangsters. The assailants quickly ran away from the scene, leaving behind a gruesome and bloody massacre in which 7 members of a rival gang were brutally murdered, brought national attention to Capone's criminal activities and the brutality of organized crime. Miraculously, Bugs Moran himself had narrowly escaped the massacre as he arrived late and spotted the fake police officers approaching the garage. The identity of the perpetrators was never officially confirmed, although it was widely believed that Al Capone's gang was behind the massacre. The St. Valentine's Day massacre intensified the public's outrage and led to increased pressure on law enforcement to bring down Capone and his criminal empire. In the midst of the increasing questioning and pressure from law enforcement, federal authorities decided to shift their focus to a less glamorous but effective method for bringing down Capone. That way was income tax evasion. Capone, like many criminals of the time, had failed to report and pay taxes on his illegal earnings. In 1931, Al Capone was charged with multiple counts of income tax evasion. The government built a strong case against him, presenting evidence of his undeclared income from various criminal activities. Capone's conviction for tax evasion was a landmark moment in law enforcement's efforts to take apart organized crime. Al Capone was found guilty on October 17, 1931, and he was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. He was also punished $50,000 and ordered to pay court costs. Capone was sent to the United States Penitentiary in Atlanta to serve his sentence. His prison term was later transferred to the infamous Alcatraz Island. Man like him probably deserved that. During his time in prison, Capone's health began to deteriorate significantly. He had contracted syphilis earlier in his life, and it was left untreated for an extended period. The disease's effects on his physical and mental health became more pronounced as he served his sentence. While in prison, Capone participated in various activities to pass the time. He read extensively and took up the hobby of playing banjo in the prison band. Capone's musical talent became a well-known aspect of his life behind bars. Al Capone was released from prison in November 1939 after serving nearly 8 years of his 11-year sentence. By this time, his health fell significantly. The effects of syphilis had taken a toll on his body, and he was no longer straight and able to do organized crime. Following his release from prison, Capone retired from organized crime and retreated to a quiet life in Florida. He resided in a mansion on Palm Island in Biscayne Bay, near Miami. Capone's health continued to decline. The syphilis had progressed to neurosyphilis, affecting his mental ability. He suffered from seizures, confusion, and a decline in thinking abilities. His physical health also worsened as he became increasingly weak. Surprisingly, Capone was involved in some charitable activities during this time. Oh, he must have not think straight. He occasionally donated to local charities and soup kitchens, which presented a quite contrast to his criminal past. On January 25, 1947, Al Capone passed away in his home in Palm Island, Florida, at the age of 48. The immediate cause of death was a stroke. Despite his infamous criminal career, Capone's life and legacy have been the subject of countless books, movies, and documentaries. He remains a symbol of the Prohibition era and the organized crime world of the early 20th century. What do you think of this American notorious underworld criminal? Do you think beside his ruthless crimes and murders, he also had some positive impact on the world? Let us know down in the comments. Suggest the next content idea, and we will warmly take it into consideration. Until the next time, goodbye by Everyday Life Quotes team. Ho, ho, ho!